Hello, welcome to Always Yarn First, a podcast that delves into knitting, crochet, spinning, and all things yarn. I'm Lindsey, and I'm coming to you, sorry, my nose is already itchy, from Little Rock, Arkansas. To stay updated with my latest yarn adventures, you can follow me on Instagram and Ravelry as Always Yarn First. Welcome. I don't think we have any many things today. I did get new glasses. I got progressive lenses, so we're going to try with these on. I'm still kind of getting used to them, but they haven't been so bad. So hopefully I can see evenly throughout. So love my new glasses. But if you're new here, thank you so much for checking me out. I am a traditional podcast style. I am on episode 66 today, and I name all of my podcasts of song titles because before my love of yarn was my love of music, and I always find something fitting for the mood. And this week's song is Let It Go by James Bay. I do have a Spotify playlist below where you can find every single song, aka every single podcast title, in that playlist if you would like to follow there. And we'll kind of go into that song in the life stuff. So if you stick around till the end, I will be having a little life section today. All right, so this podcast, I'm not wearing any knits. I do have a finished object, a cast on, whips. I have a couple of new podcasts I found to highlight. I'm calling it a spinning / acquisition because my acquisition is spinning related section. And then I want to talk a little bit about future makes. And then, like I said, I'm going to have a little bit of life section at the end. So I will timestamp those below if you'd like to kind of float around there. So let's get into it. All right, I have one finished object. If you were here last time, I was working on my test knit. It is behind me. I will take it off. There is a reason I'm not wearing it. So let's get into this. I've been calling it my test vest. I did a test knit for Julie, who is Twin Stitches Designs. All right, so I'll hold it up. So this is a cropped vest style. The name of this pattern is the Sleeveless Gal. Sorry, I had to sneeze. The Sleeveless Gal. So when my podcast releases, today I forgot to mention, today is Wednesday, June 26th. This test was due yesterday. I got it done last week, I think. So I was plenty on time, no problem there. And she is releasing it this Friday, which is June 28th. So the day this podcast goes up, this pattern should be released. I used Mace of Skeins, Spade DK, and the colorway Frosting with Sprinkles, which was a colorway she made for Arkansas Yarn Co. I love this color. I loved working with the yarn. It was fantastic. All right, so my thoughts on the pattern. So it was an easy pattern. I had no problem following it. All that was just fine. I picked the appropriate, I thought, size for me. I didn't swatch. However, before you yell at your screen at me, when I was done knitting this and I blocked it and I did the measurements for what my size should be, I am right there. I don't have those numbers in my head, but I also noticed in the, we had a Ravelry page where we were posting our finished objects. So I had noticed, and I was getting to the end, the problem I'm having, the biggest problem is like excess fabric right here. Kind of like side boob. Like right here, I'm finding there's too much fabric. And when I was getting to the end, I could really see it even as I was knitting. And I'm like, oh no, I've done something wrong. I went on to the group and was looking at other pictures of people's, and they had it too. So yeah, I don't know if that is getting fixed. Now I have gone on, Julie has posted on her Instagram, Julie Ann Knitter on Instagram. She had posted like a teaser that this pattern was releasing Friday. And I was looking at it right before I started this. And in her pictures, I can't see it. So I don't know if she's done something different or what. But I'm telling you that the pictures I saw of the testers who have knit it. Now some had quite a bit like mine. Others had a smaller amount, but I could still very much see the excess fabric. So, which really bums me out because this was a special colorway. I really love this yarn so much, and I had high hopes to wear this a lot. Now, maybe in the fall, I haven't tried it on like over, maybe like a white, you know, kind of a normal white long sleeve shirt. So I'm hoping that it will look good like that. But I mean, you can see it as it's laying here, right? Like, it's just too much. So it's beautiful. The pattern was easy to read, easy to knit. I wonder if I would if I did it again, if I knit smaller size to me instead of going for a negative ease look, and then it would be just right. But like I said, I haven't tried it on with like a white undershirt, but on its own, like a tank top thing, I definitely will not be wearing this. So yeah, I even blocked this in like the hottest water I could get from my sink, kind of in the hopes to shrink it a little bit. So yes, it is finished. It is done. When you look at it from afar like this, it's beautiful, but it is not really wearable as is for me. So take that as it is. I'm not trying to diss the pattern or anything. Like I said, I see in her pattern, there's not that. And maybe it's just because I'm not well endowed. I thought, well, maybe, you know, for bigger girls, this actually fits perfect. So I thought maybe that's the problem, but there was no special sizing for that. So I'm not sure. So anyways, Sleeveless Gal, Twin Stitches Design, releases Friday, June 28th, if you're interested in it. It is, I use DK. I think the pattern is for cropped or full length, and it was in DK or fingering held with mohair. So, or lace weight. All right, that is my only finished object. So let's talk new cast on. All right, so I have one new cast on. If you follow me on Instagram, you've seen this a lot the last few days. This is in a bag from KelleyEMcD. She does not have a shop, but she has Instagram, or you can contact her via there if you're interested in buying a bag from her. All right, so this yarn is technically a new acquisition too. So I'm working at Arkansas Yarn Co. And I was there last Thursday with Jezek, and we were just talking about, there's not as many, I feel, at least in our area, that are crocheters compared to knitters, but there are some. And I feel you because I learned to crochet first, and it feels like a lot of places, they don't have crochet things. They don't know crochet patterns, things like that. You can't go into the store and see samples of that. So we've been talking about that, and she had put on her wish list to knit the C Street tank by Brianna of the Little Wolf Knits. And I said, oh yeah, I've seen that. And there is a crochet version of that tank, that pattern is by MC, my friend, who is Blame the Knots. And I was kind of eyeing that to try another crochet garment. And so Jess is like, well, you know, we could both cast on at the same time and basically make them together. So we each picked out yarn Thursday, and I went home that night and cast on immediately. So I will show you the yarn. I just have it in the cake because I bought 2 skeins of this, but I've already gone through one of them. So this is Suburban Stitcher. This is her sock base in the colorway Sea Smoke. I got 2 skeins of this. I'm on my second one. And so this is the C Street Tank crochet version. Let me make sure I find my marker so I know which way is the right way. So this is a completely new cast on. So the stitch marker is just there for me to show which way is, first of all, the back panel and the correct side. So this is the back side. Right? I did see my very hungry caterpillar. And this is the front, right side. You can see, and this is a cropped tank, so I am about a ½ inch. I think I'm going to be able to do 2 more rows, and I'll be ready for ribbing. I'm really enjoying this. I have learned something new. I just dropped my crochet hook. So I know I've made 1 crochet garment because I have a tank top, but it was a lot thicker. And I think that's the only crochet garment I have made, if I'm not mistaken. So this was very new to me. Now, the majority of this, let me get close. This is a half double crochet, in case you're interested. So this is a half double crochet stitch, super, super easy. But to start this out, you did a half double crochet foundation chain. So what that means is usually with crochet, you do chains to start your first row, to cast on, basically. And then you do your stitch through that chain. Well, this method, which honestly I had never heard of before. I had never heard that you could do a foundation chain and the stitch at the same time. So it alleviates the extra row. You're making the chain at the same time as you're making the actual stitch. And so that was totally new to me. I had to watch the video quite a few times. And then once I did that to cast on, it was fine. But then when it came to connecting, to add on all these stitches, you know, usually in knitting, if I was going from here and then I was adding stitches to go to here, you would cast on more stitches. Well, you do that same thing too. You do the same thing, which is the half double foundation chain. So I feel like it looks pretty good, actually. So I'm very excited and happy with it. But yeah, this is nice and lightweight because it's fingering. Like I said, I cast this on Thursday night. And I say that very loosely because I barely got much done Thursday night, because I was constantly questioning myself about the foundation chain and it looking nice. But I've gone through a whole skein of fingering weight and I'm about ready to do the ribbing. So this is super exciting. Now with crochet too, you know, when you're knitting, you get excited when you go from flat knitting to knitting in the round. This one, you're still technically doing rows, because with crochet, up here, when I'm knitting flat, when I was knitting these flat pieces, if you can see, it looks different from when you're working on one side to the other side. So it's not like you can do like stockinette in knitting where you're knitting on one side, pulling on the other, so it looks the same. It looks different when you do it. So you think about that when you're knitting or you're crocheting in the round. You have to keep up with that difference of how the stitches look. So you have to keep going back and forth. So let's see if I can find my, here it is. So right here, I basically crochet till I get to this, and then I do a slip stitch and turn. So that again is new to me. But yeah, I'm really loving this. This is very easy to, once you get in the groove in it, it just is flying. And I'm really enjoying it. I have been trying this on and it looks great. So really excited about the sizing with this. Really excited about it. And honestly, if I love this one, I could see myself making more of these. Excellent pattern, MC. Excellent. So the C Street Tank. All right. So let's get into whips. So whips, I only have 3 to talk about this week because I was cramming trying to get this done. And then I started this, and even though we didn't say we were making it a competition, Jezek is a super fast knitter. And so I kind of was making it a competition in my head to be faster. So I have mostly just been working on this tank top and a little bit of this next project, because if you've been here a while, you know I do the Desert Vista Dyeworks year-long make-along where you have to finish a pair of socks. So these need to be done by the end of the month. No problem. I have the first sock done. This is the colorway No Soggy Bottoms. And you can see I'm getting there. I have like 3. These are pretty much coming off pretty even. So I figure if I get through the blue, green, and white, then I can start on the ribbing on this. So I've been trying to work on these when it's not conducive for me to work on my crochet, but pretty much these 2 projects are all I've touched in the last week. And this is in my bag by Trappings and Trinkets. All right, but I have worked a bit on 2 other things. Let's start with this one first. So this is in a bag by Puff Stitch. And this is my Anesidora shawl. This one I have been using Gritty Knits all year Advent. And I think the last day I recorded this, that day in the mail, I got my June minis. It comes with 2 minis per month. I got my June minis and I immediately cast them on. So here she is. This is from the very first of Natasha's All Year Advent to where we're at. And I am done with the increases. So super excited about this. So starting next month, July, once I get those, I will be on the decrease side. Now I'm going to put a picture in here. So you'll notice here I have like 2 repeats of what I'm using, the white, in the color, 2 repeats of white, so on and so forth. In the pattern, without giving any numbers away, you can clearly see it. The colors, where you do the colors, switch off. So like where you see this white on the decrease, that's where the color would be, and vice versa. I'm kind of thinking I'm going to leave it as is, just do decreases instead of increases. I just really like the separation of the color, how it is right now. And I feel like I don't need to add that extra kind of eye-catching. So my second half is going to look a little bit different than the pattern. But I am in love with this pattern. So yeah, and then the white, I'm just using Arkansas Yarn Co. Yummy Plush in the Wedding Cake, which is the undyed base. All right, one more thing. I've worked on a very little bit, I think. But I do want to start working on it. In fact, tonight, my daughter and I are going to a play of Pride and Prejudice with some friends in town. And because I am literally at vanilla knitting now for this sock, this is a sock for a friend. It's a vanilla sock. This is Supernova Dyeworks in the colorway Vibe Checks. And I am knitting these socks for a friend who just moved to Virginia. And she said that she likes long, tall socks. So I think I'm going to take this tonight and work on it during the play because this is just loads of vanilla. So yeah, love this color. It totally suits my friend. But yeah, not much to say about that. It is on a sparkle base. And this is in a bag I recently got from Arkansas Yarn Co. This is from Laura of Knit for Brains. All right, and that is all of my whips. That is all I've worked on. You can tell I've been more monogamous because I finished something and I've nearly completed an entire tank top. So that's pretty exciting. Usually, if you've been here a while, usually I have 10 projects to show with a little bit on each one. But it's kind of nice to change it up and work on something a little bit more. All right, so next is, let's see, briefly a podcast highlight. So I love watching knitting podcasts. I watch more of that than TV or anything else. So when I find new ones to me, I like to say which ones I'm enjoying so that if you are like me and like watching all the podcasts, that you can check them out too. So the first one I have is Sheila Bobby, who is actually Caitlin. And I watched a couple episodes of her, and she is delightful. And then I just found another one the other day called Purling Through Life. And that is Melissa, and she lives in Atlanta, Georgia. And again, I've watched 2 of hers. Totally enjoyed them. So I will link to their YouTube channels below, so if you would like to check them out. All right, so next we are going to talk spinning acquisitions together. Yeah. All right. So for spinning, I have done a little bit of spinning on my new acquisition. I mentioned this in the podcast that I was getting this. I received my new, to me, Daedalus Starling. I have a Daedalus Sparrow. That was my first spinner. I only have e-spinners. I do not have a traditional wheel. I have spun on a traditional wheel, but I really like the e-spinners, and living in a small space, I find them better for me. So I have a Sparrow. I'm keeping my Sparrow. Sparrow is fantastic size for traveling. In fact, coming up next month is Tour de Fleece. We're focused on spinning, and I will be taking that to Arkansas Yarn Co. A few times and doing some spinning, hopefully. But I wanted bigger bobbins. So, so the spinning I've done on here is the work I've done spinning. I pulled out a bat. I was getting the Gritty Knits Mystery Bat Club for a while. And so I'm going to make a mess of this, I know. But this is a bat. And hers are so fun and funky. All kinds of bits. Love it so much. I had to stop getting that club because I was falling behind. But I definitely did not cancel her club because I didn't like her bats. They're all extraordinary. She's fantastic. So anyway, I pulled out this bat and I went to town on some spinning, and it took me like 2 hours the first day to finally get the yarn or the spinning to uptake through. So, but then once you find your sweet spot, I got it and it was going great. I have wanted this for a while. You can see it's quite a big bobbin. So the thing is with these bobbins is you think that is a lot of yarn, which it is, but then you have to spin one and then you spin another one and then you have to ply them together. And that's just if you're doing a 2-ply. And when you're learning to spin, the more plies together actually will even it out more. So when you're learning to spin, it can tend to be a lot of highs and lows, thick and thins. And to even that out more, I feel like a 3-ply is really great to do that, because if you're applying 3 plies together and thick and thin, they're kind of all evening out when they become one yarn. So, and then this bobbin represents how big your skein is going to be. So I have a lot of smaller skeins because I wasn't making a finished like lace weight after I plied together. So there was only so much room on the bobbin. So I really wanted to be able to make thicker skeins. The better I got at spinning to have bigger cakes of yarn. So this one I got on the wait list for Daedalus. That's how you have to do it. You get on a wait list, and when your name comes up, they contact you and say, would you still like to get this? And then you can pick your colors. These are not my colors I would pick, but my friend Caitlin, who actually works with my husband, she is an avid knitter, spinner, like everything crafter, and has all the things. She is expecting, and so she was kind of cleaning out her craft room and making room for a baby room. So it worked out that she was going to be getting rid of hers, and so we got a really great deal on this and extra bobbins. And it works fantastic. So I'm really, really excited to be using this, especially with Tour de Fleece coming up. I will definitely be taking advantage of that. The only other acquisition I got besides the yarn I'm using for my crochet project is my monthly Patreon minis from Molly of A Homespun House. So this is May, and it's called Fried Pickles, Mohn, M-O-H-N, and When Girls Telephone Boys. Don't know which one is which. I'm guessing this is Fried Pickles. But these will just go into my scrappy blanket, because these are 3 10-gram minis. So, all right. So that's it for acquisitions. So I want to kind of continue on with that a little bit and talk about future makes. So I love to do every beginning of month podcast. I go through goals, just my personal goals for the month. I might talk about what my Make 9 board was and see where I'm at with that. But, we're in June, so in about a week, we're halfway through the year. Yeah. So I've really been thinking about specifically my Make 9 boards. Now, I've said this before, that as far as goals, I'm not one that is so rigid on goals. I like having goals to work towards, and every month I have just personal goals of like, okay, I'm going to focus on this project this month or whatever, just to give me something to focus on. But if I don't make it, I don't beat myself up. It's not like a super competitive thing or whatever. I just like having them goals. So I made 2 Make 9 boards at the beginning of this year. I make one board I haven't started, but I have the yarn for. I have the yarn, I have the pattern. I'm able to start at any time. These are the 9 things I'd like to make this year. And then I had the other one, which was in some form, I have started this project at some point before January, and I'd like to finish it this year. So kind of like in process whips board. So I'm not going to go super into those this week. We will talk about that in the next podcast, because it'll be the beginning of July podcast. But I kind of want to generalize talking about, how we may get sidetracked or pulled in different directions. It happens. New yarns come out that you want to try. New patterns come out all the time that you want to try. The weather might majorly affect what you want to work on. Like, it is as hot as can be here in Arkansas. So I feel like that has been the case with me, and I feel like I'm kind of floating all over the place right now. I don't know if it's because part of it may be because I started working at my local yarn store, which is a dangerous thing to do when you see all the new yarns come in as you're putting them on the shelf and you want to try them out. But I want to talk about a few different things that I've really been wanting to make. I think previously on a podcast, I had talked about the Linden cardigan, which is funny because I mentioned the Linden cardigan, and then we had an event at Arkansas Yarn Co. And I saw my friend Cindy, and she came up and had already cast on the Linden cardigan from watching my podcast and showed me all this progress she had made. And I'm like, well, I'm glad someone cast it on. So it looked great. And then I also talked about the camisole number 9, which I had bought yarn for that because I wanted to make that. Yesterday, I bought yarn for the Dust Bunny by Beata Jezek from Hedgehog Fibers. And then there's another new pattern that came out, I believe, last week maybe, which is the Tolsta Tank by the Creabea. I'm going to insert some pictures here. This pattern is amazing. I already had the Tolsta T on my want to make list. I mean, anything that shows a picture of stripes like gets me because I love striped things. But this tank, for one pattern, it's really 6 patterns because it has a vest version, a square neck version, and a cami version. And each of them are in fingering weight or DK. I mean, that is a lot of bang for your buck. So if you haven't checked out this and you are interested in a tank top, may I suggest this? This seems like an all-in-one pattern. I have not knit anything by the Creabea, but I hear about her patterns on many podcasts I've watched, and I really want to make this pattern. So what I plan to do, because there's so many new things I've added to my wants to make list, and I feel like my make 9 lists are kind of like getting pushed aside. So, and it's okay if I change my make 9. So what I'm going to do is next week, in between now and the next podcast in 2 weeks, I am going to get out all of my homemade kits, which is basically when I know what I want the yarn to be, I put it in bags with the pattern printed out, and I'm going to get them all out. Look at the yarn, touch it, because sometimes we get so excited about a new pattern because it's what's in front of our eyes, or a yarn. We go to a yarn store and be like, I don't know what I want to make. Okay, I'll make this thing. Not that you don't want to make it, but you forgot that of the other 15 things at home that you have yarn for that you want to make because it may be pushed in a cabinet, in a bag, something like that. So I kind of want to have like an appreciation and remember visually what I have and what I want to make with it and get excited about it again. And then if I need to, I can't really adjust my whip make 9 board because those are all on the needles before January of this year. But if I need to, I may completely revamp my other make 9 board of projects I want to make with the new stuff I've gotten and figure out like, okay, if we're talking the second half of the year, what do I really want to knit up? So I'm going to do that. And so we'll talk about that the next podcast. And I'd love to hear about what your goals are or how you do your goals. Everyone's so different. And I if you have goals or don't have goals or just knit or crochet what you love at that moment, there's no wrong answer, obviously. But I've just been thinking about lately, like, I think I still want to knit all those things that I have. It's just, I haven't done it. So I need to get it out and reappreciate the yarn. Yeah. So I am going to do that next week. All right. So we're pretty much to the podcast. I'm going to have a brief life section. I usually do not get into personal details of my life. I don't like oversharing and any of that. But there's been many episodes where it's kind of crept in the last few months. So I just wanted to come on here and be like, you know, there is a big life change coming up for me. My husband and I are separating, and so that's going to affect a few things. Again, I'm not going into that. I don't need to go into that. I'm just saying that because my crafting life on YouTube and Instagram and different things may be changing because of that. So I will be working at Arkansas Yarn Co. Full time after July 4th. So, which is super exciting. I have been working there a couple of days a week, and I have really been loving it. Let me tell you, if you get the subscription box, the Sock Yarn Society box, all the work that goes into that, like those are things like, you know, when you're getting it, the work that you kind of know that it's work, that they're putting together these beautiful packages, but you do not know. Let me tell you, I just, Friday, I think I spent all day working on the little Arkansas Yarn Co. stitch markers, drilling them, making them into progress keepers, putting them with the other progress keepers on the little holder that you get in the subscription. And so the amount of details, first of all, of course, Lori's eye to details is phenomenal in color. And then secondly, just like the hours spent making sure that box goes together well and putting it together. I have definitely a new appreciation, and saying that, I am super excited and to work on when later on in the year when Advents are getting worked on, because the amount of work going into that is just phenomenal, and the team really does a good job. So I have been learning a lot and definitely been appreciating even more my local yarn shop girls, Lori, Anna, and Jessa. And I'm so thankful that they have allowed me to come on board to the team. So that's pretty much it. I still plan on podcasting every 2 weeks. I plan on recording these on Wednesday and uploading them Friday mornings. So this should go up Friday, June 28th. And then I will record again in 2 weeks unless, you know, life happens. But I've been consecutively doing this for 2.5 years. And I think only a couple times have I had to skip a week. So that is still my plan to be there. But I actually get, of course, less knitting done now that I'm working at a yarn shop, which is the problem. And that's why I want to work on my goals, is because I see all the yarn and I want to buy more yarn things, but I'm actually getting less time knitting because previously as a stay-at-home mom, I was getting a lot of knitting and crafting time. But now, as you know, if you're working, you come home and you might get a few hours crafting time, or you may be too tired. So it's just a whole different thing for me, and I'm adjusting, but I'm loving it. And so that's pretty much it. All right, y'all. I thank you so much for watching. If you are still here and sat through all this chatter, please like and subscribe, and thank you for being here. Please comment below. Tell me about your goals. Do you have goals for the year or for the month? Do you change them up mid-year, kind of shake them up a little bit? So I am curious to know how everyone else does theirs. But I'm happy to see you, and I will see you again in 2 weeks. Bye.